My name is Jon Rollins. I'm a visual artist based in High Point, North Carolina. This is a video of me working on a painting in my studio in late April and early May of 2020. In my latest work, I use scrap materials left over from years of making things as collage elements. My studio is filled with these scraps. There are sketches, notes, tests, paint rags, old tape, table coverings, and abandoned paintings. Some are from last week, and others are from 20 years ago. I don't see them as studies or inspiration, but as not-yets, the raw materials for new work. They're like artifacts of my past. They refer to the ideas, expressions, and failures of their time. But more importantly, there's a beauty to them, independent of any of my mental projections. They're unfinished, uncertain. They contain possibility. So my work is dealing with that possibility. The scraps are built up in layers, which are modified by drawing materials and paint. Addition and subtraction, or subtraction by way of addition, really. When mixing things from such different time periods, the form and the color relationships start to get quirky, strange, bad. I like that. It gives me something to fix. It's a setup. I can distance myself from the scraps and start to edit them. When I edit, I'm trying to find something more general in the specific, or find a way to love that specificity, the squirreliness of a drawn line, or a cut piece of paper that's not quite square. This is one of my scrap boxes. As you can see, I don't keep them organized. I may loosely compile some scraps in the early going of a project, but things inevitably get mixed with other containers for other projects as I work. But I think I like this disorganized approach. The odd pairings start to generate ideas for me. A recent sketch may be in the same bin as a drawing from my childhood. When I'm looking through my scraps at the beginning of the painting process, I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm usually not looking for anything. Not yet. Instead, I'm remembering how I made that piece, where I was, what was happening. I laugh if it's a silly note. I feel bad about myself if it's a crappy drawing. Yes, I'm sentimental. But working with the scraps is a good way to deal with that. I can't erase the emotions and memories I connect with this stuff, nor would I want to. But I also want to find the possibility that's still emanating from these things. This is a very special scrap to me. I've been saving it for something good. It's a piece of newsprint I used to cover a work table 2 years ago. It accumulated off marks from different projects, doodles, and notes from a phone conversation. I also used it to practice signing my name for a piece I had just completed, many, many times. And of course, there's the word punk. P-O-N-K. I can't remember why I wrote punk. It seems important, essential to the scrap. The piece of paper does look like a punk, though. It may sound cliché, but my work is like playing a game. Not a fun game. Painting is not usually fun, but like a game that makes you think, like chess, or maybe solitaire. I try to see the moves beforehand, but I know that I can't. I can only do something and then respond to it. Otherwise, it's just in my head. I can't think my way through a painting. Like any game, the rules are arbitrary. There needs to be just enough structure to keep you playing. When I first started using the scraps, I thought I was trying to present them or resolve them, but I found that there's something else happening. Yes, the paintings are about these materials of the past, their history, and I guess my history too. But the paintings are also about what the scraps do in the present. It's funny, but I'm not the one doing the work here. My hands don't make them work, don't resolve anything. No, they make me work. The scraps are like friends. They invite me, maybe even coax me into a painting. They're shields, protecting me from the fear of a completely blank canvas. They're also betting chips. There's a value in their age and history. I don't just casually glue up a 3-year-old sun-faded newsprint drawing or a bad sketchbook page from high school. It forces me to be intentional. I have a lot riding on these paintings. As I get deeper into a painting, I start to search the scrap bins with a more formal eye. In this stage, I sometimes have to think harder to remember how a piece came to be. It's a balance. I want to see the scraps in both ways. They are memory. They are object. It's a stretch, but I hope anyone looking at my paintings can see the scraps in both ways too. I like masking tape. To me, the tape is a mark of decision and indecision. The decision to attach something, knowing that it can easily be removed. It's a very non-committal mark. I get a laugh out of gluing the tape on, making the impermanent permanent. It's important that I find ways to dislike my paintings during their making. One way I do this is by arranging and rearranging the scraps so much that I get fed up with the surface. When I reach this point, I have to do something drastic. Risk becomes the only way out. So the collage process is sometimes a lure into taking a risk. One of these drastic measures is pouring paint. This is new for me. After arranging and playing the game with the scraps for a while, I need feedback from the surface. The poured paint buries the scraps and the arrangement I thought I had put together so well. But the surface translates through the paint. You can still see the edges of paper. It reveals a structure while removing its content. I like that. House paint is also very special to me. All of the added whatnot gives it a consistency and handling that no other paint has. I also like that I usually acquire it secondhand. I enjoy knowing its original purpose. In this painting, I used Kills used to prime a bathroom and gloss linen white intended for door trim. The flat black I had custom mixed. I can never allow myself to know too much during the painting process. I have to fool myself constantly. If I think for a moment I'm nearly finished, fear strikes and I can't move. I don't often start with an idea, but along the way, I sometimes develop a very complicated plan. But the painting happens before I get very far along with this plan. In other words, paintings get finished and I don't know it. Watching myself complete this painting is strange. It might be strange for you too. The making of a painting is a rabbit hole of decisions and accidents. I can never retrace the path. Now, I'm seeing the moments that seemed to lead somewhere, and those that didn't. What's even stranger is editing this video. I'm creating a narrative of how I think the painting developed, cutting out the boring parts and the dead ends. But I'm glad to have hit the dead ends. I know they're not really dead ends. They're necessary. I don't think there are any dead ends in painting, or endings at all. Just doing. Doing and the material results of doing. Some of those things are called paintings, and the rest go in the scrap pile.